Well, good afternoon, everybody. And how's everybody doing? Welcome to the Compass Rose True North podcast, where today we have a very special guest on, Major Ed Pulido, founder of Heart of Lion Foundation with John Daly. An amazing man. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. I love this man to death. Motivation beyond belief. Now I'm going to bring him on. Well, good afternoon, sir. How are you doing?
Hey, my friend, how are you, man? Thanks for the flexibility today. And here coming in hot from Oklahoma, finally, man.
Amen, brother. I love having you on. Every single time I have you, it's just always an honor to have you on. It really is.
Well, it's good to be on. So, hey, congratulations on the show, too, and all of the great stuff that you're doing as well.
Thank you very much. Without further ado and all that, okay, if you could talk a little bit about your background in the military and where you came from.
Well, it's funny. I just actually did a big interview with a good friend of mine just recently. And, we got to talking about some really deep stuff. And I remember going back to my high school days and the junior ROTC program, which was really a very impactful program for me at the time, when I was growing up, to really just understanding that the military was going to be the beacon of light for success for not only me, but for my family and for those around me. And certainly my dad was the inspiration behind all of that. I mean, I have to give him all of the kudos in the world. And, the other thing too that was inspiring was Ronald Reagan. And in the 1980s, I know that there were mistakes made and there were some issues that were going on. But just one thing that I learned from just hearing him speak and being a leader is that, what, sometimes you got to lead from the front, not from behind. And there's people out there that are going to, not like you for what you stand for. And during that time frame, there was a lot of things going on, and he inherited a really troubling time in our history. With the oil embargo and the issues related to that. And I remember sitting in line waiting for gas with my family. When we had just gotten back from Germany, and it was just an interesting dynamic and time in our country. Where it's not the same like today, but there's a lot of similarities, high interest rate, some other things. And, my father was already in the military and had spent quite a bit of time, Vietnam era veteran. And, he told us, as you move forward and you move in life and, here in the 80s, we began to see some prosperity. And I felt like, what, calling me out for service to the United States Army was what I was going to be all about. And so I joined, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And now I'm just honored and grateful that I had a very good career and that I get to represent our military every day in some way, along with first responders and America's children.
God bless you, because I know you've gone through a heck of a lot, and it's pretty amazing when you hear your story. Like I said, to me, you're my motivator, my inspiration, someone that I highly respect and look up to through everything that you've gone through. So God bless you and your father at the same token.
Yep. And my father passed away last year on well, of course, actually 2 years ago, but in November on Thanksgiving. And one of the things that he said before he passed was that, continue to serve this great nation. And our name is all we have. As an immigrant, my father came to this country, and that's how he got his citizenship. He always taught us that every day you get up, you have to be motivated and inspired, not only by others to inspire you, but inspiring yourself and motivating yourself. And I appreciate your comments, because those are just comments, that I take to heart. I work hard every day to empower and do things that are very positive. And like last night, I saw an individual I hadn't seen in a long time, John Michael Montgomery, and Kirk Willie calls me up and says, "Hey man, would you be interested in coming up and saying a couple words to John?" I don't know if you know that John was involved in an accident and
no.
bus tour, and his bus went off the rails, and certainly off the highway, and they could have been killed. And the thing about it is that it's just people like that that inspire you, motivate you as well. And it's not even that, maybe he's a singer and a celebrity type. I don't really, it doesn't matter. They're real people too. And they inspire and motivate us as well. And all of us are here to motivate one another. And so I really appreciate your comments, because those hit my heart and my soul.
Well, it does, because I had the honor and privilege of meeting you at the rally point where, yes, I have your hat right there.
Look at that. Yeah, heart of
Autograph right there from you. It was a pleasure. You know, my wife and me have gone through a lot, and we're still going through it. But what you do is you inspire people and you help people. The things that you do, you and John, it's not just you're a team, okay? Just like everything that you've been a part of. What made you decide, like, where did you begin to really start helping people afterwards, after military service?
Well, actually, I had a lot of experience through the United Way of Central Oklahoma. I have to tell you that that's really where all my philanthropy started in the work that we do. One of the things that was impactful, a lot of people don't understand the United Way structure, but one of the things that I liked about it was they were helping different organizations in the community that may not be able to help themselves raise a lot of money. It's an example of the fact that they become what they call partner agencies, and that's where I learned how to really give as much of my heart as possible to the various organizations I was representing. And
Mm-hmm.
the is that you're representing from from birth to death. And that to me is impactful too, because one of the things that we've learned as a nation that really inspires and motivates us as well is that we are a philanthropy country. We are one that gives of ourselves in ways that help our fellow man. You don't see that around the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's seldom that you see the American spirit like it is here in other countries on how they do philanthropy. And so, to answer that question, it really just started right after military service and being connected with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Bob Spinks, who taught me really a lot about nonprofit management, leadership, how to run organizations, and then also how to use philanthropy as a way to not only make our community better, but to be at the table. Because the things I learned about that experience was, you know, you have governmental organizations that need the support of nonprofit organizations. And you know what? A great city comes together when you have every collaborative agent at the table. That's one of the things that I talk about in the trainings that I do for nonprofits is that, you know what, it's not about how much money you can raise. It's about how much human capital and human impact and
Right.
community impact you can make. Because again, it does take the dollar to make it happen, but sometimes you got to stretch that dollar in some way or another. And when you're collaborative with other organizations, then you certainly can make a case for making the community a better place to live. Like here in Oklahoma City specifically, we're dealing right now with a homeless crisis. The homeless crisis has always been a crisis. It's just now more, it's become more of an evolutionary process because of the fact that the economics of scale right now and at the national level with our country, there are issues there. I mean, food security to homelessness, housing, interest rates. I mean, as I indicated when we just started, there's a lot of things that are barriers to economic success. And that to me should be the guiding light for what we're trying to do. So at United Way, that's what they taught us, is how
Mm-hmm.
to collaboratively put together money in the community that really makes an impact with organizations that are making the impact work with the services that they provide. So that kind of started my philanthropy efforts. From there, I moved on to Folds of Honor, and then I started a little organization called Warriors for Freedom, and all of it focusing on mental, physical, and wellness. I think those three things, whether it's a scholarship, because that's a wellness activity, or that's a supportive activity, the way I look at it. And it does help mentally and physically when you have a child that gets a scholarship from an organization like the Folds of Honor. And and now they're not worried as much. I mean, they still do have worries about how they're going to pay their education, but that $5,000 is a big deal. And I
It
understand
is.
that as a parent. And so for us, I look at it from a mental, physical, and wellness. And wellness to me is getting faith based groups involved in your life, being connected to civic organizations in your community. And it's a what I call a safety net. It's a well rounded approach to having wellness in your life. It doesn't have to be all physical and mental wellness. It's also community wellness. And to me, that is the inspiration of the three pillars that I sort of represent in the work that I do. And now that the work that we do with the John Daly-Major Ed Heart of a Lion Foundation to inspire and motivate and really connect individuals to organizations that may be able to support them in their effort, or to support first responders and anything that they may need. Like our first alarm project down there in Tallahassee, Florida, they needed equipment and some other things, and we're able to provide a hand up and not a handout. And I think to me, that is the other piece of what I do. I don't want to be here to give people stuff and then not get a thank you or pat in the back. I tell people right there, you know what? You get something, you should be thanking individuals for that, the donors, the supporters. And I find myself in this country at times feeling like people just take advantage of that and think that everything is that they, if they get something, that there's no thank you or no, what can I do to pay it
Right.
forward? Else. And I'm not saying it's all across the table. I'm just saying, as a learning lesson, that's something that I really think about. And I would hope that the American people step up to the plate like our ancestors did before, that came before us, that really supplanted this country to where it created this foundation that we all live in. Even though there may be cracks in the foundation and there's things that maybe we didn't do right, and there were some wrongs that we've done, but more or less, we've always done great things in this nation. And that is what we should hang our hat on. And that's the philanthropy focus that we have at the Heart of a Lion Foundation.
Again, it's amazing on what you guys do. And again, many, many thanks for what you guys do. You and John have created something very special. And it's amazing. You help the Boys and Girls Club of America, which that is freaking phenomenal right there. Everybody thinks, hey, it's just military and first responders, but what about the kids? Well, you hit all the angles.
Yeah.
And I think it's inspirational because not just the Boys and Girls Club, but like you said, the junior ROTC, helping young people grow into something that's very positive and putting them in the right perspective. It's not so much as saying, hey, this is what you're going to do, but like you said, you're basically providing the tools.
Yes. And you also have to have something that you have to have a stake or a piece in the game. Every day that I get up, sometimes I don't really like using this word, but man, I'm out hustling every day. And the hustle used to be something that I think a lot of people did in this country. And sometimes that gets a bad connotation as a negative word because it's not looked upon. But hustle to me is, you know what, like you're in a football game and you're hustling. You know what I mean? You're
Mm-hmm.
you're hustling to make a play. You're hustling to motivate the team. Those are things that are just attributes that as I look at, that's what kind of motivates me and makes me go every morning and every day. And you know what? Like today, there's obstacles and stuff that happen. And, I wasn't prepared for that this morning. And I ended up being in a foggy area. And, I don't know if you know that in the mountains towards here in Arkansas, And here in North Oklahoma, there's a lot of snow and ice and in the morning, that stuff, we're 14 degrees. So what happens is that stuff ices up on the highway and everybody's
Oh
got,
yeah.
and all you have to do is see the aftermath of vehicles on the side of the road, you know, that probably slid in the last couple of days because of that kind of stuff. So weather plays a huge role in a lot of things too. And I just tell you that there's a lot of people right now hungry, homeless, and in these treacherous conditions. I mean, we still have ice and snow on the ground here. Um, that's pretty tough, man, to live under those conditions. And so my hope is that America turns on the clock and says, you know what? We're going to do something about immigration, because that's one of the things. I'm going to tell you what, I'm coming in hot on that. I'm sick and tired of seeing what's going on down in that southern border. And then all of these other mayors across the country complaining because people are being sent their way. Number one, you know what? Texas has had a huge problem with this for a long time. And now these
Yeah.
other starting to experience it because there's no place for these people to go. And the thing is, at some point, you got to turn the spigot off and help the people that are already here, that are citizens of this country, and take care of them. Then, if you want to take care of some other immigrants and all of that, God bless you. But have a plan, because right
Right.
now we don't even have a plan for the people that are destitute. Specifically here in Oklahoma, 50,000 veterans across this country are homeless right now. That is an
That's ridiculous.
number that is so inappropriate, and government thinks it's okay. They do, because they're not talking about it. Otherwise, they would do what they got to do in the border, stop the immigration issue, make sure that these people are not coming over here until you take care of the people that are here already. And that's the way I look at it. Sorry, those are my Hispanic brothers and sisters. I have empathy and compassion, but I also have compassion for real Americans who have citizenship here in this country and are living in these type of conditions. It's sad and disheartening. And you know what? It's very un-American in my eyes.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. And those are facts. It's, again, take care of your own backyard before you can go and jump into somebody else's backyard. Take care of your own. And
Exactly.
we have issues all across the board. Like you said, homeless, outrageous numbers. That shouldn't even be an issue. But then you got politicians that are sitting, again, my opinion, same thing. What are they doing about it? Everybody just talks a good game, but nobody wants to do anything about it. Oh, wait, because they don't have to deal with it. They don't see it physically. They don't see it. It's kind of like being in the Navy and all that, like I was. When you get a pilot that goes up in the air, they bomb somebody. They don't have to visually see it. So it doesn't have that effect versus ground troops that are out there and that are seeing this stuff face to face, like, hey, you're right here. What do we do? Or unless it happens to them, like, hey, if it's your kid that commits suicide, or your kid that becomes homeless, one of your family relatives, and then, oh wait, now we want to do something. That's unacceptable.
It is. And I think that that's where the rubber hits the road for me. I mean, I'll give you another example. I was watching some television over this past week, and I'm seeing the stories of what's going on with, with some hearings that happened in regards to the COVID-19 issues. And I'm just appalled on how stupid people are in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say it that way, the ignorance and just the divisiveness of nature of what we're all about as people, it is unprecedented. And that COVID-19 thing is a prime example where we're hearing that they really truly made up the deal with the social distancing thing. There was no science behind that. But
No.
if you want to talk about science and all of this other stuff, and then you got men trying to transform themselves into females and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, and I'm not going off the rails on all of that, but I'm watching this unfold with these COVID-19 hearings and some of the rhetoric that's coming out, and then that Dr. Fauci's a freaking scam. I mean,
Right.
to not even to not even understand. And here's the deal: if you're going to create, if the pandemic is created just be upfront with the American people, because that to me is a very sensitive issue when it comes to the fact that a pandemic, it becomes something big. Well, now we're hearing that, of course, the Chinese knew that this thing had gone out of that lab and it had leaked out, that someone probably carried that out. It wasn't in no wet market. I mean, I didn't even believe that when they were saying it. And I post about it, and then I have people that are like, well, you don't know. We don't have any proof. You know what? You don't have to have any proof to be understanding. And in my life and my experience, I knew it's not coincidental that there's a lab right there by that wet market.
Right.
That apparently started all of that. And again, we're going to this deal in America right now where it continues to divide the public. And the people that didn't get vaccinated got scrutinized. The people that did get vaccinated, some of them have died because they've had heart issues, So look, I mean, just put it out all on the table. And at the end of the day, people will understand more on these kind of things. And that to me is where we come from with our foundation and the work that we do. We just want to be as transparent as possible. We want to take care of people. We want to do the right thing. And the thing about it is that, one of the things that I've been talking about a lot lately is you got to have honest conversation in the mainstream. And the media right now are selling us a bag of goods that is just totally inappropriate. Look, like or dislike Biden or Trump, call it what it is. Biden has his own issues too, and everybody gives him a pass. The guy can't even freaking communicate right now.
Nope.
And I tell you what, you want to say bad things about Trump, but man, you got to look at the other guy too, and to see the dysfunction in our government right now, and to hear the rhetoric and how everyone's deplorable on one side. People didn't vote for Trump because they love Trump. They voted for Trump because he was different.
Mm-hmm.
He was a change agent. He went against these other people that have been taking us to the cleaners for a long time. And when you look at it from that perspective, it isn't the person that's in there in office, because I could care less about all of that right now, because I'm through with government, with politics, really, to be honest with you. But my point is that there is a lot of negativity and divisiveness when all they talked about when we got into office here, 3 years ago, was unity. Where did that go? That lasted the press conference, or the presidential inauguration, because after that there hasn't been any unity. What we have is a bunch of people dividing one another instead of coming together for the greater good. And that deal with the pandemic is a prime example of what I'm talking about, is that you divided these people, and now you think that, and you lied to them too, by the way, with a bunch of
yeah.
And then now you expect them to kind of come rolling in. And if we have another pandemic, nobody's going to want to get a freaking vaccine.
No.
Because they don't trust the government. And my hope is that our government starts really just, just call it what it is. If we make a mistake, we make a mistake. Austin being gone and basically missing in action. I know, look, bless his heart, we're praying for him. But to be missing in action, and you're the Secretary of Defense, and you get a pass, everybody else would have been freaking done.
Oh, in a heartbeat, just like that.
Oh, yeah. So anyways, kind of went off the bandwagon on that, but it's great conversation. It's great for podcasting, because you know what? It's my opinion, but I think I'm spot on a lot of these things.
Well, and that's one of the key factors. That's what I love about you, is because you're honest, you're genuine. You know what? Everybody has a story. Everybody has an opinion. That's okay. But if you can talk about it as adults and actually have these conversations, because a lot of these conversations need to be had.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to hold anybody accountable for their actions. We all make mistakes, but if you're in a leadership role, well, damn it, be a leader.
Correct.
Take charge. Do what's right. You know what? The biggest thing is, yes, the military, we've always done it. That's why it's volunteer. We volunteer. We know sometimes we may not come home. We leave our families, but we fight for our country and what we believe in. Same thing that should go for the government, because in the day one, when they did the Declaration of Independence, when they did all that, when they wrote it all up, they put the amendments down, they did all that. What for? As leadership. These are the guidelines. Now let's hold to it and let's be true about it and be factual. Don't sit there scapegoat. Don't go hiding between, like, for my own opinion, Republicans, Democrats, all these other things. Guess what? What's the main goal? We the people. You work for us. You're supposed to do right by us. With all the controversy with over COVID, you basically force people, you have to get a shot or you can lose your job. That's not right. A lot of people were scared. They're in factory. They're just trying to, stay afloat. And then we're threatened. Well, I don't want to take a shot. Well, then you can't come into work. What the hell? Oh, now we got wars going on.
And you lied and said that you wouldn't get it, which you had no science or proof of that.
None.
Get it after you took the shot, and then you come off and like, oh yeah, well, we basically were wrong. Yeah, you were wrong, but you still made people do that. You forced people to do that. And right now, they're not talking about the enlarged heart muscle. And look, I don't care. Look, I've heard doctors talk about that there's no scientific stuff and studies. I'm telling you, there are a lot of heart issues going on in this country right now with people that are very young, athletic, and you're wondering what in the world's going on with them. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist or none of that. I'm just saying that from experience, I actually took the anthrax shot, which had some of those same chemical agents or chemicals in it, not agents, but chemicals. And my heart muscle enlarged.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived with that. I was wondering what was going on. Sometimes I'd kind of have this effect of being winded and all of that, and went in and got diagnosed. And I'm like thinking to myself, and again, I'm not trying to discredit the vaccine or anything like that. Look, if that's what your flavor of the day is, that's fine. But I think what we did was we rolled out some things that maybe we didn't have some studies or some findings on. And, that's what happened. And COVID-19 did it. On the other hand, you had some other countries that did some different things in the COVID-19. Herd immunity worked for them, and they were very successful. And I'm not saying that this virus wasn't, or this COVID-19 issue wasn't an issue at all, because there are a lot of people that got really sick.
Oh, yeah.
It just tells you that we have a sick nation, and we've got to make improvements to health and wellness. And I don't know what that answer is, but I just know that, based on history, we could learn. What we can learn from COVID is that we got to take care of one another. We have to be respectful of each other, and not everybody's going to want to be if I want to drink regular coffee, don't throw down or put down decaf down my throat. You know what I'm saying? So that to me is where I kind of draw the line with things. And again, I'm just here to be who I am. And I've had COVID probably 6 times, because I tell you what, I'm exposed to a lot of people. At the end of the day, you know what? I'm doing well and I'm successful. I'm taking my vitamins and I'm working and I'm being as prudent as I can be. Lost some poundage. I've lost 20 pounds. Got to get down on some weight. And all it comes down to is trying to live a wellness life. And for those that are compromised, they got to take care of one another. And you know what? We got to respect that too, because we don't want to get anyone sick. We don't want anyone to die. And I just thought that this COVID-19 thing, and look, everybody says, well, we can talk about it now and it's different. I knew about it when it first went down. I was like, none of this stuff made sense. Going to a restaurant and then putting a mask on and go in, and then you sit down at the dinner table and you take it off. One, you shouldn't even be in a freaking restaurant.
Right.
It's so contagious. You shouldn't even be practicing that.
Thank you.
Because you're going to catch whatever's in that restaurant anyways.
Regardless.
Yeah, and it's stupid stuff like that. that just it troubles me, because I'm like thinking, who's making decisions like this? Because if these people are the subject matter experts, I tell you what, we're in trouble.
Got a problem.
And it's also about money too. All those people made a lot of money, and you know what? You can tell me differently, but you know what? That just like climate change. Do I believe that there's climate issues? Yes, you bet. Because the thing about it is that we pollute our world in many ways. Just take the oceans and what and they're doing in India and dumping their trash into the ocean and all of those kind of things. But to say that the United States is, the polluter of the world, give me a break. Take China, India, and all of those other countries. Go to those countries and see what they do. Or go to this deal with Israel right now and the Palestinian state and what they did with Hamas and what they did to Israel and this terrorist organization, these stupid people aligning with themselves with that crap. You know what? I'll tell you what, again, our country's off the rails, and we better get it back on the rails, because it's going to be people like me that are going to stand the fight for it.
Damn right. Excuse my language. But the point is you're 100% right. You got to stand for something. And we're doing it. We started my foundation. I work with you and all that. It's doing the right things. And that's why I try to put out there is with everything that is going on, this country has lost its main aspect of for the people. So you know what? Start bringing it back. Start uniting everybody. Because you know what? We're a hell of a lot stronger when we're united. Instead of pushing people away, being greedy, the money will always be there. Okay. But you know what? You got to hold them, accountable for their actions, just like the pharmaceutical companies. They made freaking a mint off of that. Off of that. To me, it's very personal because my wife has cancer. She took those shots, thinking that it was, to be vaccinated. Now she's getting more effects off of it, which it kills me to see that. And there's nothing they can do. Some of it accelerated it.
Man,
Is that right? Is that right? No, it's not right. You're freaking making people sick that shouldn't even be sick, or you're making it rapid to where it's unstoppable.
yeah.
There's too many deaths that are happening. One person, a family member, lost his life. They got it early, the first stage. Next thing you know, 3 months, 4 months later, the man died. What the hell is that?
I
He
agree.
lost it, and he was a man. It was our daughter-in-law's, or father, or yeah. So it was very hard because you know what? He stepped away. He was perfectly healthy. This man was perfectly healthy, very young, had everything going for him, have a beautiful family. And now that he does, nobody has him anymore. Now he has a spouse that is broken because her husband's gone. But the question is just like with my wife and the others that have gone through it, now what do you tell people? Whoops, I'm sorry, my bad. No, that's unacceptable. Don't tell me, oh, my bad. Oh, we made a mistake. No, now we got to do something about it. Hurry, don't put a band aid on it. I don't want to know all the other red tape. I don't want to jump. Don't make me jump through hoops. Come up with the damn solution and quickly.
Yeah. Well, and I'm praying for, I'll say a prayer for your wife. I mean, that kind of happened with my dad too. He had some cancer, and all of a sudden something made it aggressive. We
Exactly.
know what to pinpoint. We know where to pinpoint that. And look, those are just the parameters that we live in under the type of medications that are out there and vaccines that are out there. Look, they work for some, and then they do an injustice for someone else. I get that. Sometimes you want these pharmaceuticals to be put on the market because they're going to save lives too. I've seen that with cancer and some of the other things that they're doing at down there at the cancer center down in Houston. I mean, it's just some incredible stuff. I know my dad spent some time there too on some effective and just pioneering new uh, you know uh, vaccines that are out there
Right.
that be supportive and can help with possibly keeping the cancer at bay. My friend Toby Keith, he's gone through a cancer scare and being resilient. And so there's a lot of good medical practices out there, and we need to commend those. But then when there is a bad malpractice or something of an issue, then we have to address that too. And that it goes back to what I mean. I'm involved in the Iraq War Fund legislative, or it's actually a lawsuit. I was involved with the 3M lawsuit with the hearing stuff, and I've seen, and I've got some friends that were stationed at Camp Lejeune that are dealing with a lot of cancer issues. They put that all under the table for a long time, and look what the ramifications and the issues are. So again, I look at that. I look at aspects like that, and then base decisions on what's best for me and my family. But sometimes you got to proceed with caution as well. And I
Right.
think what we were able to see with the COVID-19 is that there was a rush to go in and do all of these things. There was a lab leak, and you could tell me whatever you want to tell me. Specifically, a couple of my neighbors that I know that, I tell you what, they are in the profession and they don't want to be dogged out for what they do, and I don't ever want to do that either. But again, if it's a lab leak, call it what it is. And Dr.
Mhm.
Fauci did a lot of stuff, and I just think that that's not good for the medical community, because the medical community to me, and I think you would agree, has to be the most holiest of holiest,
It
because
is.
you want people, specifically in health and in community health, people are not going to do things if they feel skeptical about something. And there's
Hmm.
skeptics, don't get me wrong, but I thought that rollout and how everything was done with the COVID-19 in retrospect was that there was just a lot of noise out there and a lot of uncertainty and a lot of dishonesty, and a lot of it started to come from people that were in high governmental positions and the medical community downgrading their own medical community people.
Hmm.
There are other medical community people were just coming up with science and with issues to just say, hey, well, maybe we need to rethink this. And that to me, that's not, when you don't have that type of dialogue, that's when you have issues, man. And I tell you what, I'm just glad that you understand that. We got a little bit into the weeds on this, but I just think it's something that needs to be discussed and certainly create some lessons learned. And if there was some people here like that were making money off of this thing, and we're talking about making money off people that died, basically.
Yes.
That to me is so inappropriate. And like I said, I've been reading a lot of this stuff on. I'm not saying Dr. Fauci's all bad, but what I'm saying is there's some things there that are shady that should be subjected to scrutiny. And I think that's important. That's healthy. And that's the type of dialogue we should be having so that we don't make the same mistakes ever again.
Right. And stop giving our leadership passes.
Correct.
Everybody's got to be held accountable, because when we all have questions and all that, well, who the hell's going to answer it? We have a president, excuse my French and all that. He can't answer that. So who's running the country? Who has an answer? What is it about? Does the Senate, does Congress? No, they don't have answers. No, it's a house divided when it should be, more importantly, put together. Shouldn't be different sides. It's for the people. Do the right things for people. They need help. Damn it, help them. What's so hard about that?
Yeah, and that's like teachers and hospital staff. I mean, this is not who we're talking about. There's some horror stories that have come out on some stuff when money talks. I know that, but
Mhm.
there were a lot of people that, I mean, a lot of health professionals that were in there in the trenches. That's who we pray for. That's who we support. That's who we give a pat on the back. But I think what you had too is just a lot of uncertainty, And most of the people that are in that hospital-based care, they understand the dynamics behind everything. There's no issues when you go to in fact, every time you go into a hospital, you probably should have one of those little, what are they called, 95 masks, whatever, that one that's the most protective. Why? Because there is a lot of germs, and that's probably a place you're going to get sick. Trust me, I know. I got a I got staph infections for being in the hospital. I
It
know
happens.
on that, and all of the health risk involved in what they do. And to me, you know what? Big salute to all of them. That's not what we're talking about here. Providing that critical health care for people. What we're talking about is the rhetoric that went down when there was a lot of unknowns. And everybody could say you're doing precautionary stuff. Yeah, but precautionary stuff is different than just checks and balances and what I would say common sense. Because I'll give you that social distancing crap. I mean, give me a break. I always thought about all of that. I'm like, listen, if you're gonna get sick, you're gonna get sick, man. And the thing
Mhm.
about people that got sick and mentally their bodies got drained as well. And that's not healthy for people. Your body's you got to try to fight it with as much as you can with your body and your components. And when you have mental health issues and people are scared, people make these type of decisions. And so my hope is, again, there's some lessons learned. We can conduct an after action review, and maybe Congress can do their job that like they're trying to do right now, and like you said, hold people accountable. That's very important. Accountability at all places is really something that's powerful. There's not negativity behind it. It's just making sure that we're all accountable to one another.
And just like you, and a lot of people don't realize, yeah, you're a major. You were a major in the Army. You earned that position for a reason. But let me ask you a question. If you made a mistake, because again, you're human, you make a mistake, didn't you own up to it? Say, yeah, I did. I made a mistake.
Oh yeah. One mistake that we made that was critical to what happened to me on that day was we missed our operational start time. You know what? I always tell people, don't miss your start time. Be on time. Be ready to go whenever you're supposed to go. And the thing about it is that, you know what, time management on that day was something that, I think about, have thought about, and certainly if I could have it over, we would have done something differently. On the other hand, too, that, you know, it's interesting because, there was the weapons of mass destruction debate.
Hmm.
That's an example of just the, man, you got to get things right sometimes. You know what I mean? And that cost a lot of lives, severely injured people, people killed, because of the ramifications behind the decision. And look, the decision was made. We, serve our country and take that oath. I get all of that. But in that same token, just like the examples right now, we've got stuff going on in Israel and the Palestinian state. We've got stuff going on in Ukraine. And at some point, you know what? That's a lot of capital. I mean, that's like human capital with wars, the industrialized aspect of the Department of Defense, putting out the weapon systems needed to make sure that these wars are, that the resources are there and are available. A lot of money being spent on that kind of stuff. And yet we still have a bunch of homeless veterans all across this country. Again, where are our priorities? That's all I'm saying. My priority
Hmm.
is taking care of the people. Look, God bless the people of Ukraine. Give them somewhat what they need. But you haven't even heard a peep out of that lately.
Nope.
It's not even, you know what I'm saying? And it's just an interesting dynamic when you look at it and you just say, what's the intent here? And if people scrutinize it and then they're wrong or they're racist or they're negative or they're divisive, no, they're questioning transparency and accountability. And that's all I'm saying is like we're saying, I'll give you an example of something I've been working on, man. And I'm really been frustrated on it. there's a deal called the Major Richard Starr Act. The gentleman died of cancer. Major Richard Starr did not have 20 years of service when he was discharged from the military, because I think he had 17 years or something in the military, got discharged because he developed this cancer. And, push came to shove. He was medically, discharged from the military, but he didn't make his 20 years. The bottom line is you called him up from the reserves to active duty. He gets hurt and he doesn't make it to 20 years of service, which he would have made it to 20 years of service, because most people I know, if you're 17 years of service, you're going to do it. And you discharge him out, and then you take money away from him because he can't draw he gets his VA benefit money, yes, but then there's money taken away from his regular retirement from the United States military. And so now you take away $2,000 to $3,000 from him because he can't get concurrent receipt unless he has 20 years of service. And then you can draw both pays. And my thing is, these people in Congress right now are not even looking at it. It's a no-brainer. You sent us to war, and then now you're just like throwing us to the curb. I mean, it's just mind-boggling that you can't even pass legislation that impacts the people that you sent to war in Iraq and Afghanistan. You sent us there. You hurt us there. They did. And we're all mangled up, and you don't reach, you have 14 years of service and you can't pay them what they deserve, both concurrent receipt on pay, because you have this law that's been historically on the books for a long time and you can't change it when you already changed it for other people in 2001, I believe, where you could actually draw both pays. My point is, those people, those 55,000 that are under that circumstance, should be rewarded by passing the Major Richard Starr Act. That's all I got to say about that, because that's an example of where we're sending money to Ukraine and all over the world, but we can't even take care of the people that you sent to war. The mangled ones. I'm talking about people missing legs and quadriplegics and people bedridden, traumatic brain injuries. Those kind of people that probably need that compensation more than anybody else, because they're the ones that you have mangled on the battlefield because of your war.
Exactly.
Act us, and we needed to do something about that. We took the oath of office. But don't give me this little deal. We are here to take care of our heroes, and you can't even pass legislation that makes sense for those that have sacrificed so much for our freedom. And I'll tell you what, I hope legislators are hearing me, because I'm telling you, you know what? It is so disrespectful what you're doing to those 55,000 people.
100%. It's disgraceful. And again, accountability. You know what? Like you said, it's freaking a no-brainer on what they should do. They're very simple. Take care of the people. Because I go into groups with the Vietnam groups, young people that lost their legs and all that. Physically, they're damaged, right? But what people don't realize is they're also mentally damaged.
Yes.
Because they're having PTSD. They're having night terrors, sweats. They can't even sit, lay in the bed with their spouse because the spouse is afraid, or the person who's went through it is afraid that they might hurt their other significant other. That's ridiculous. Why aren't we taking care of them? Or why are we giving them even a minute problem and making them jump through hoops for something that they've earned? I'm not saying it's a right way to earn it, but give it to them. It should be a no-brainer. This should be real simple. If you're hurt, you were in our service, you took care of us, now we're going to take care of you. Bottom line, we're going to take care of you.
You're so right.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And it hurts because, like me, I go through it. I have to deal with my wife. I'm kind of working on a similar one, but in a different way. For being out of the service, I worked for a company. I got hurt on the job. I got a traumatic brain injury from it. chunk of iron. I'm probably not supposed to say it, but really, hey, I don't care anymore because attorneys, this and that, workman's comp, I don't care. The truth needs to be happen because again, it comes down to accountability. Hold them accountable for their freaking actions. I got hurt on their job in a confined space. Okay. A chunk of iron came down, struck me in the back of the head, neck, and shoulder. It could have killed me. Now they're fighting. This happened almost 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And nobody's got an answer for me. Oh, we're still in a settlement and all that. Oh, we got to worry about money. Listen, the only thing I asked for, just like many Americans, the ones who fight in it, whether they're first responder or whatnot, I don't care about the money. I want you to do what's right. That's what workman's comp is all about. If you get hurt on the job, just like it was we were talking, that's why I brought this up, is take care of it. Should be a freaking no-brainer. I'm not asking for millions of dollars or this and that. I'm not trying to fight for all that. I just want you pay the insurance. So why do you have to have so much of an issue? Who's it really going for? Who's there to represent the American people? Who gets to advocate? And why do I have to jump through hoops for this stuff? I'm the one who's hurt. The way it makes me feel is you got doctors. My attorney tells me, well, yeah, they're against you. Well, no shit, they're against me. They're on the opposite side. Your job is to get other doctors to counter it. But here's the thing. I'm frustrated. Me and my wife are frustrated because the bottom line was I got hurt. Why is anybody else? You don't have to go through it. You don't have to watch me going into seizures all the time, being in hospitals nonstop in the ER. Hell, I got frequent flyer miles, people. But you're not walking my shoes. Just like you don't walk in your shoes. Or the ones who are having mental issues, nobody else. That's bullshit. That goes for every freaking state.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
I think you've hit it right on the nose. And I think that's where I come from. And again, there have been some great legislative wins with the PACT Act, which is for toxic, exposure from the burn pits. I have a lady that I've worked with for years that is so awesome. And Alice Daniels, her name, out of Baton Rouge, and her loved one died from the cancer exposure, which will probably come out here in the future as one lawsuit type of deal because these individuals lost their lives. You know what I'm saying? But my point is that you have those kind of things, and then you hear stories like yours. And again, it's all accountability. And I know that there are people that scam the system. I mean, during that COVID thing, as we were talking, there was so many people that,
were claiming and didn't claim it.
Right?
Oh God, all the way around, hearing war stories of terror stories. Hey, a business can claim money on it, and yet they're not even affected by it.
Well,
what the hell is that?
Well, yeah.
But no one questions it. No one's got an answer.
Yeah, and it was interesting. It was just like a lot of that kind of stuff. So I know that there has to be some checks and balances when somebody gets hurt. My thing is that's why you have these things in place. So make sure you take care of people just like you.
But it's bottom line. Again, it comes down to that freaking bottom line, which it aggravates me so much. Is why is everybody making it so difficult? Like workman's comp, they need to start redoing that and start reevaluating because how they're running it is bullcrap. It shouldn't be ran that way. No. Workman's comp is not for the freaking company. It's for the employees.
Yeah.
Hello, dum-dum. It's right there. And then COVID, when they came out with it, nobody bothered to question the fact that, hey, how fast did they come up with those injections? Nobody questioned on the speediness of that. When we have people that have cancer and all that, They don't even have an answer for it. That's still in years. Come
Yeah.
on. Come on. It's one of those, come on, man, really?
Well, I think you kind of hit it right on that nose too on that, and that's the bullseye right there. Is there's like, yeah, there's just these different things that happen, and it's dynamics, and you're just like, wow, you know, we can't put something out on the market, but we put something out on the market this fast. And again, look, that I will leave it to all the researchers and doctors and all of that. But bottom line is our science is there. We've made some great strides in it. Even with people with the AIDS epidemic, back in the 80s, and
Oh, God, yes, I remember that.
with AIDS now, and that you take a pill and you're okay. I'm not saying that there aren't complications to life, because there's health issues and health risk, and health, have basic health issues. And the thing about it is that we've been able to really combat that. And that to me is an example of what I'm talking about. Is let's put stuff out there that's going to be good and healthy and safe and take care of people and improve quality of life. That to me is the effects of what we're talking about here.
Exactly. Come down to the bottom line. Freaking, let's start dealing with the problems that are at hand, right? I mean,
Yeah.
hey, it's real easy and all that. Jennifer said, "Hello, Major Ed." I love Jennifer. She was amazing and all that.
Oh yeah, so tell her I said it hello too, and man, what a great show too. And I know we got to talking about different stuff today, but lately I've been talking about this stuff on these different podcasts. I think it's information. Look, it may be my only, it's my opinion, and I'm right on everything. I just know that I see things clearly, and I also see him from a skeptical point of view sometimes, because I've learned about some things in my experience and in my life to have a little bit of skeptics of understanding things, and maybe that's not a good word, but maybe it's just to question some things, because some
Yes.
told one thing, and then in reality it's like, hey, listen, that water there is blue, and good and well, if you live over here in Oklahoma and somebody tells you, hey, Lake Eufaula's, man, that's got the prettiest bluest water, and you've been here and better, that brown over there, man,
Mhm.
brown because of the where it sits, and the amount of dust that's flowing around, the wind here in Oklahoma, and it makes that lake brown at times. So to say that that's always blue, there's a little question in all of that, and that's just a little example or a metaphor of what we're talking about here. That it's good, healthy dialogue to kind of question things, so that that we're all on the same page, and sometimes that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Jennifer put facts. She's listening and all that. Like I said, I love her. But that's the things. Now, those are, I'm glad we're having these conversations. I really am, because they need to be said. It's just have a little common sense and don't be that yes person, because everybody wants to be a yes person.
Yeah,
Start asking the why. We do have the freedom of speech, people. It was fought for us to have freedom of speech. So utilize that and talk about it and question things. No one's saying, even at the top levels, no one says you have to be the best president or best congressperson or anything like that, but have the best interests in mind and come together. And how can we make things a lot better for people?
yeah. Well, Jennifer's right. I mean, the facts are the facts. And when you start digging deep into some things, I'll give you an example of something that's going on. And look, President Trump has a lot of legal issues right now he's dealing with. So everybody knows all about that.
Mhm.
Some of them are some of those things are sketchy. Specifically what's going on down there in Atlanta. And there's some stuff going on in that place there, and the self-interest, and look, I'll leave it all of that. But then you take President Biden, and then again, Trump's got his legal issues. and this is a political deal, but it's about facts. But the facts of the matter is that from with President Biden, I've been hearing a lot of rhetoric and a lot of information that's been coming out about what was going on with his son
Oh,
and
yeah.
experience in Ukraine, experience in China, and Burisma. Look, I keep up with all of those politics of the world, and when you look at what they're doing and looking into, we're talking about millions of dollars that some way ended up in the coffers of President Biden and his brother and Hunter Biden. Worst thing for Hunter Biden that happened to him, and I tell people this, whose laptop went missing? Because we wouldn't even be talking about any of this stuff if that laptop would have not been missing and ended up at some shop because he didn't account for it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about it is that, that laptop's been thrown around everywhere. There's a lot of damning information in there, a lot of human trafficking stuff.
Oh, God.
And all of that stuff. And it's interesting because when you look at all of that, you hear you hear just probably just one group of people that are talking about it, but then you have another side that's defending those actions. And at the end of the day, you can't tell me that laptop, they called it Russian misinformation. Was it 55 of those high intelligence, smart people, the smartest people in the world, in the human intel world. And that laptop is misinformation. It's not real. Then it all comes out that it is. And he made a huge mistake by leaving that laying around because it's got all this damning information. The last thing you want to do is be putting that out to somebody. And then all of a sudden it gets put out and all of these things are starting to get connected. There's an impeachment inquiry right now going on. My point is that you attack one person and throw the book at him with charges, and then you have evidence that truly, truly looks and needs to be investigated. That's all I'm saying. And there's this double standard. Bottom line, if you charge them all,
mm-hmm.
The Department of Justice has to be very neutral. Otherwise, we don't have those checks and balances. And you may dislike this guy and the former president. You may have hate and disdain for him. But at the end of the day, he has equal rights just like the other guy. And it's just a double standard that we have implied now. And to me, it's like the immigration issue. These folks can come over the border and there's no crime. But then you do something out here and speed or do this or that, and then all of a sudden they're throwing the book at you.
Oh, yeah.
Double standard. That's all I'm saying. People can agree or disagree with me. I don't care. At the end of the day, just read up on what's been going on with Biden and that inquiry that's going on and connect the dots. And bottom line, some people got paid a lot of money for doing things that they probably didn't even do. And it's pay for play. And politics is all about that on both sides of the aisle. And that's
absolutely
America. And that's a broken system in itself, because that's not what the founding fathers or our founding members put together. They put together something that was powerful so that we could all have equal justice. And that is out the window because you see two-tiered systems of justice. And people can disagree with me or not. Just look at the facts. And that's what Jennifer wrote earlier, facts. The facts are that you have a roadmap of what has been going on with the Biden family for years. Okay? And then you got President Trump, former President Trump, who you said did all of these other things too. Okay? Insurrection, this and that, which to me, that's another topic for another day, because I have some really cool stuff on that insurrection stuff. But my point is that all we want is equal justice. If you had papers that were classified materials in your garage and you charge one individual for it in their home, what's the difference? There is no difference. It's the same thing. You have 33,000 emails on an unsecured server. That is not appropriate when you're locking up Private Snuffy, who may have taken a stick, computer stick, basically, home, and didn't mean to because he was going to go work at home on his laptop, but he shouldn't have took it out of the deal. I understand that. But you have two-tiered systems of justice, and that has to change at some point.
Well, it does. Again, it's the accountability, and everybody, no more double standards. Start coming together. And that, our forefathers, were they perfect? No, they weren't perfect. This country learned by mistakes. But you know what? We learn from them. So what you do today, it starts, mattering. The choices that we make, the things that you do. Like, you can't say, for one instance, okay, you got illegal aliens that come over, automatically they get everything. They get the works. Okay, gas stations, whatnot, whatever. They get free money, grants, all this good stuff. Regular American tries to do it. Oh my God, they have to go through jump through hoops just to get it. And sometimes it's denied. What's wrong with that picture? Because you're not taking care of what's going on. Nobody wants to address the real issues of what's going on. Don't tell me, hey, we have no money to be able to do this, but yet, hey, dum-dum, I got news for you. When you realize how much money, which I know you do and all that, when we go to war, we spend billions a day, a single day to operate.
That's right.
Well, guess what? We don't have no money. We could send care packages. I mean, money. And when I say care packages, it goes over different countries, but we have no money. How's that even right? So you're telling me a homeless person or a vet or anybody that goes through something, when they walk in, well, I don't have any money. Well, we don't know what to tell you. Hello?
It's
you got money for everything else. Come on, it's like a double standard right there.
Yeah.
I'm an American. I earned it. I'm sick. I need help. But here's the thing. We all took an oath. For the ones, and I'm speaking for myself and all that, and just like my accident that I had to go through, okay? When I have doctors, to me, they took an oath as well, just like a lot of us. When they go against you, they'll see one thing on paper, then all of a sudden they're all against you through the attorney. When you have the answer right in front of you. I don't care about how you try to spin it, how you try to do anything else. I got hurt. You're supposed to do due diligence to make sure you're a doctor first.
Yeah.
Ethically, you're a freaking doctor first. Just like we took the oaths, just like officers took oaths, police officers, firefighters, no matter what we had it on, we wear it till the day we die. Because that's the right thing to freaking do.
Well, and equal justice and equal punishment. I mean, that's what Jennifer wrote on there. If you really look at what the issues you just brought up, first responders are people in law enforcement. All of a sudden you paint a picture of all of these people in a certain way to be bad law enforcement officers, and that's not necessarily true. And I stand up for them. I was just watching this past week the mayor of Washington, D.C. being questioned on the crime problem in D.C. Well, number one, the reason you have a crime problem is because you took police officers off the street. You threw them under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And you decided, hey, we're going to cut our budget by 15 million. Well, look what happens then. And your community policing, God bless that. It's a great concept on paper, but it takes resources to do that. It takes trained resources, trained individuals out in the community. There's an organization called Possibilities. Does some great work. That would be an example of some type of community organization that works together to make an impact, to strengthen the citizens of the community so that they can basically police their own community up, basically. Because you are your own neighbor watch. You are, you're taking care of your neighbors. You should. And that
Mhm.
is one of the things that I see that I was watching, the mayor and get into it with one of you know, our Congress folks. And again, there's a lot of good Congress people out there. I mean, there are good politicians out there. They're doing their job. They're trying.
Right.
But my point is that I'm looking at this exchange, and the mayor's like, well, I we don't really have a crime problem here. It wasn't because we, defunded the police and this and that. Number one, you shouldn't even been talking about defunding the police. I don't even know where that came from. But to even put that out, like in Minnesota and other places, and look, God bless that, George, what is it, Floyd, whatever his name was, that died up there in Minnesota. Look, we don't want any citizen to die. But on
No.
the we don't want citizens acting up either. And at some point, my mom and dad always told me, listen, if you put yourself in a bad situation, bad things happen. And that's an example of how you just demonize the police. And now you're calling wolf because you don't have enough resources out in the streets. And you know who actually gets hurt by that? Are the citizens in those communities.
Absolutely.
And that's the sad part. Our Black communities, not having the Target or a Walmart or the convenience store that they may need to get the things that they need for everyday life. Those are the people that are hurt, and those are the people that I want to fight for. Is those people that really need our help and our support, because at the end of the day, you know what? And I love the comment by Jennifer. Look, all these people thought that this was a noble idea. Number one, never mess with the police, never mess with fire, never mess with the people that are EMSA, never mess with the people that are working in the hospitals. No, provide the best support that you have. They were heroes, and then all of a sudden you fired them because they didn't want to take a vaccine. Give me a break. I mean, it's an example after example after example of what's broken, and it's just so common sense. But I guess we're the only ones that look at it that way, because there's a lot of people out there that are totally lost on how they view things, because I don't view the world like that. I view it from a very strategic point of view. The police have to be on the ground in these communities, just like when we were in Iraq. What changed about the war there was when Petraeus went to a surge, and the surge really was a big deal. But the biggest deal is when we started getting embedded in these local communities in Iraq, getting to know the people, understanding the culture, and understanding their way of life. And that provided us better security, better connection, and better safety measures in the long run, which basically saves lives. That is one of the issues on the defund the police that I just don't understand. Why would you even change something like that really, really hurts the whole cause? And that's troubling to me.
Well, it is. I have a brother who's a cop. I won't say where he's at and nothing like that, because I got to protect, my family and all that. But those are big things. Our oldest son, a firefighter in Chicago. Everybody they do it because they want to help people.
Yes.
And you know what? At the end of the day, what's the main goal? For everybody to come home safe. Because God bless my sister-in-law and daughter-in-law and everybody else, because every single day that they walk out of that house, just like military, they don't know if they're going to come home.
Exactly.
So it's very scary. So people got to take that seriously. They're humans just like we are. They're citizens just like everybody else. Yes. Do we have good and bad in everybody? Oh, always. You're not going to change that. But it's what you do and how you deal with it that's important. If you address it, hey, you screwed up, now I'm going to hold you accountable. Okay. Respectably. Respect everybody. Respect their jobs. Respect their duties. But more importantly, respect the communities, because they got to live in it. I lived in Detroit and all that for the longest time. The bad stuff that happened, you see it all the freaking time. It's sickening when you're watching because everybody stereotypes them. Well, they don't got nothing. Why don't they have anything? Because all I see is freaking liquor stores on every freaking block. I don't see nice places all around. You don't even make it inviting. It's like when you go to war and all that. All you see is chaos. It's like they're setting them up for failure right from the gate.
Well, you're right. And let me bring up a great point here too. Remember the old military, you used to be able to get some of these folks from these economically disadvantaged places, and you still do in some cases, but not like you used to, and give them an opportunity to get out of that environment.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy. I remember a lot of the individuals that had pride coming out of the streets of Chicago, New York, and New Orleans. One friend of mine, man, became an officer, went to Southern University, enlisted in a non-commissioned, and then enlisted non-commissioned officer, and then became an officer, a chief warrant officer at that. And it was so great to see um, the maturity level of coming from the streets and in these social economic circumstances that were horrible, and now they're in the military, their earning potentials improved, their status is improved, their character, their honor, their courage, and their service and their sacrifice, all those things, man. And it's like honor, duty, and responsibility to love for country and to serve your country. That to me is what we got to get back to. Kind of like what, you know, uh, Mr. Kennedy said back in the 60s, let's do something about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can be the beacon of light is the way I look at it. I can't paraphrase his words, but those words really mattered, and it's giving back to your country in some way by doing philanthropy in your local community, by impacting lives and maybe serving the homeless or delivering a meal to the elderly. All of those things, we're already doing a lot of those things, but we need more of it.
We can
And
do better.
and that to me is what impacts who we are. And that's why, everybody asks me, why do you do this philanthropy stuff? Man, the reason is because I feel good about it. When I help somebody, I did it because I want to help, and I want to help others, and I want to improve their socioeconomics too. You
Yes.
people up. And that's the only way that people get lifted up is they get lifted up by one another, by offering them a job, by offering them an opportunity, by offering them a connection, by offering them a hand up and not a handout. And that to me is the other thing is we're just handing out too much stuff, like was said with the immigrants, and all of a sudden, what's the sweat equity here? And now they're complaining because they're not eating very well in New York, and that their
Mm.
conditions, what they are as favorable because they're living in a little small apartment, and like it's like Jennifer said, helping others makes me happy, even if it's something small. You're doggone right it is.
Absolutely.
Because you know what? When you do help someone else, you perform a great deed. And that's what Ronald Reagan said years ago in his inaugural address. It is up to us to perform great deeds because when we do, we make things happen.
Well, and that's what we're both trying to do, and I'm thankful for Jennifer and everybody else because that's you're only going to make a difference if you do something about it. We all have a story. Like I have a backstory. Everybody has a freaking story, but be that person to tell that story. Like me, hey, you know what? Am I proud of it? But I learned from it. I went to prison for DUIs because I was dealing with a lot of backlash from military, PTSD, stuff like that. It's tough. I was always silent, but I'm thankful that I did go into prison because you know what? I got to learn a lot about myself, evaluate myself. And when I can come out, I help others. I talk to others. They're like, well, how do you know? How can you even know? Have you walked? I'm like, yes, I have. I came from a bad area. I went to prison. Was it all good? No, but I made a difference. Those choices, what made me the man I am today from my life experiences. And that's why I tried to challenge everybody else. What are you going to do about it? you don't like something, make a difference. Say something, do something. Make that effort. Because sometimes it was weird. I asked my grandfather, he was, God bless him, he was in the Navy during World War II. And he was married to my grandmother over 50 years. I asked him when I was going in the military, I asked him, I'm like, hey, Grandpa, how many years was it? All 50 years? Was it perfect? He looked at me, he goes, absolutely not. And I go, wait a minute. What do you mean? He goes, about half of it. Half of it was fantastic. The other part was freaking miserable. I'm like, what? He goes, listen, kid, you don't just walk away from a marriage just when things get tough. It's a job. You have to work at it. There's going to
Exactly.
be things you dislike about your partner. Like, hey, I'm going to be honest. You could eat the wrong way. You can slurp. You could fart. You could do anything, whatever. Sometimes it gets old. You get frustrated with the other person. It's like, okay, I had enough. But you know what? I'm not quitting on it. You got to work at it.
Yeah.
So
But
that's what all this is just got to work. Put in the work for it. It's not handed to you.
exactly. And
Earn it.
earning is the most important reward you can get, because when you earn something, you know that you are, you know, you have a better understanding and a better grasp of what you've accomplished. And it's interesting. I often reflect back on what's been accomplished in my life, and I don't use it as a pat on the back. I just received notification that I'm being honored on February 22nd and 23rd in Scottsdale with a legacy award. And I never did this work for awards. I did this to save lives and to improve lives and to impact lives. And um, that to me is how I approach things. And there's a lot of things that are going on in this world right now that are there's a lot of trouble, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and then there's a lot of stress. I go through it too. Don't get me wrong. I'm sometimes try to be a little direct on things because I feel like I want to get my point across that way. It's not that I'm not empathetic or compassionate. I just think that sometimes I have to be direct to knowing what that roadmap looks like for me. I don't have time as an individual these days to take that long path. I've got to take the shortest path possible from a time management perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And like today, for us, we took some time today to talk about some really deep hearted issues. And for those that are listening, take it to heart that we're not right on everything, but we certainly on point on things that need to be brought up. And then there has to be good dialogue on both sides. That's what I would hope that we would be able to do in America today. And I think you talked about marriage and all of that, but there is an argument is healthy dialogue too. It,
Mm-hmm.
it's where you take that and channel that. And again, compromise is a huge issue too. We have a problem with compromising with our legislators and political leaders right now. There is no compromising. It's my way or no way. And that wasn't what the founding fathers and those founding members looked at. They looked at a here's what we have on hand. Let's create a solution for it. And that solution becomes a law, and we have dialogue around it, and the law may not be perfect, but we can make changes to it and evolve it. And it's funny that a lot of people, I just was watching a documentary on President Lincoln, and one of the things that I learned about President Lincoln was the fact that you know today, if you looked at the fact that the Republicans and the Democrats, and you look at racial diversity and how the Democrats have totally forgotten what crap that they did to people back in the old days.
Oh yeah.
And where they came from and the historical issues, and now you want to tear monuments down because you didn't like those people, and you were the ones that were doing all of the conniving and the slave trade and all this other stuff. But no, it was all these other people. Now that's what you talk about today. To me, history tells itself, and that's why they erase history, because they know they've been bad.
Mm-hmm.
When you've been bad, they know that, you know what, let's change the narrative of the scrutiny. And everybody asks me, why do you vote the way you do? I'm kind of a moderate. I vote for who the best candidate is. I don't care who it is. If somebody's got some great ideas and they align themselves with the things that I align myself with, and not all that other crap that's going on out there where it's too far left and too far right, I leave myself in the middle of the politics of the world, because I want my place to be the best that it can be, and that people get together, they're respectful, they work with one another, and they move the needle forward in a team approach. A team. We could all be a team. We should all be a team. Sometimes we're going to compete against another team. But at the end, what do? We shake hands and we say, great day, great job on the gridiron. We say a prayer with one another. You may have won this one, but you know what? We played hard. And
Exactly.
And that to me is what we're all about. And that's why this podcast was good today, because we played to win, and we brought up great discussion points that really lead us to that winning combination of understanding what we're all about.
Well, and we all put out great, fantastic points, but the biggest thing is for with other viewers, we get a lot of young viewers and stuff like that. I want to actually hear what's going on. That's why I take it like that's why I have my passion is sports, as you can tell my background. But you know what? Like you said, it's a team effort. At the end of the day, whether you take NFL, baseball, hockey, any of the big ones and all that, what's the biggest thing? They're all competitive. There's nothing wrong. That's the thing that Congress and all that, and the Democrats, Republicans got to understand. Hey, competition is welcome. Have great competition, because you know what? I want you to come up with something better. It's like when you raise your children and all that, you want them to be better than you.
Yeah.
So it's like if you have a great answer, I want to freaking hear about that. Just like when you play sports, God, I love football. It's coming up right, today and all that of the playoffs. They work their tails off, but at the end of the day, they could shake each other's hands. What you see, like quarterbacks, yeah, you lost the game. That's okay. We're gonna shake your hand. They're like good fight. They're
Yeah.
respectful about it. That's the same way as how everything should be. It's positivity, and like you said, history has written it. It's been there. Don't change it. Don't take it away, because you know what? Like me, when I've gone to prison, people may not like it because they feel offended. They're like, "Oh my God!" Automatically a stereotype. You came from there. Yes. Okay. It is what it is. But you know what? I take that and I reflect on that. Say, hey, I made that mistake. This is where I won't do that again. Or when I go out to talk to, whether it's AA members or kids are having issues, mental health issues and all that. That's what I talk about it is, hey, I've been there. I get what you're talking about. I can actually empathize with you. Because some of them you can't always empathize with. You really can't, because you haven't walked their shoes. But you can listen.
Yes.
You could be that great ear, like, hey, no matter what, I'd never walk through your shoes, but I can relate in some shape. And that's what it is. Like your book. I know we took long, like your book. What inspired you to write that book?
Well, actually, what was inspiring about writing the book was that I had a therapist, and that's who I got to give credit to, a therapist who told me that I had a really neat story to tell. And the story really is about service, sacrifice, and as she put it, she's like, an American of Hispanic descent, people want to hear stories of that nature, of resiliency, of helping people. And what that book has done is helped countless people that may be in a place of darkness or just a place of positiveness, that want to read something and be inspired and motivated and encouraged and empowered. That at any time something can happen tragically, and what do we do with that tragedy? We can channel it in a positive way or a negative way. And that is what the book and the inspiration was all about, was getting a therapist to really understand me when I was going through my dark times and I had to reach out for help. And as hard as that was for me to do, I'm so glad I did it. I did it because I knew that I can't talk it and walk it and run it unless I've done it. And
Hmm.
that was kind of the inspiration behind the book, is to help others that may be in challenging times, or just people in general that want a nice read, to read about a story of challenge, triumph, and change. And those three words, when I picked them, they were pretty powerful, because it is a stage of my life. The challenge, then there was triumph. That first, the triumphing mode for me, everybody doesn't know, is taking the first step after an amputation. Because, man, when you can't walk or you can't move or you can't do anything, it's challenging, let me tell you. And to take that first step after being amputated on crutches, one leg, one step, 7 steps, 50 steps, and on, those were like benchmark points, or points of interest in my life. And again, those were the things that really made this book come to life. And then my work in philanthropy, the pay it forward approach in the middle of the book, which is really the triumph aspect too, of getting through this. And then change was living changed, adaptively changed, because like I was missing a leg, now I'm changed forever. How do I maneuver? How do I function? How do I, you know, get myself motivated for life, because it isn't going to be easy. And now I make it easy, but there are challenging days. So my point is that the book was to really do something purposeful, so that the book can be used as a helping book for others. And that's what I've used it for. And I'm just honored and grateful that I've saved a lot of lives, and I've inspired people in many places, when they were maybe not in a good place, and then just to help people in general that are living great positive lives and wanted to hear a story of a challenge and of resiliency in that challenge. So just like your story, I mean, you know what? People want to read about that stuff, because people want to know what was it that um, Jennifer says you're an inspiration,
Actually,
that motivated you. I could have sat in that bed and grieved and just gave up, but that's not human nature. And a lot of it is what I didn't mention out of all of it, which really is the encompassing thing. I did it for faith and recovery. I needed to have some faith in my heart to write it, and I didn't. I mean, I had a ghostwriter write it with me too, but that faith part was that, okay, where do I go from here? I reached out to God during my challenge. Well, I better do something about it during my change, and
right.
the other part is just the passion behind what we do. Be passionate about what you do, or not be and if you're not passionate, then you know what, you may need to find a new profession. And so that to me was the guiding principles behind the book, and in telling a little bit about the work that I'm doing, and how the foundation work started for me, and really just kind of premising it with like the fact that, at the end of the day, an obstacle can be put in front of that road, but you can get through that obstacle with the right support.
And you know what, Major Ed, I highly commend you and thank you for your service and your sacrifice to this country and also what you bring to the table and what you do for others. Because the biggest thing is you don't look like your Purple Heart and all that, all the different things. You don't care about none of that stuff. Even like when you're doing your foundation and all that with celebrities and stuff like that. If your main purpose is if I can help somebody, I'm doing my job. That's what I'm here for. I'm helping somebody.
Yeah.
Just like your family, you're encouraging. When they make successful moves, you're successful. You did your job. That was the whole point about it. Just like our foundations, what we're trying to do. I don't care if I, hit 1,000 people or I have 2 people that look at me. That's fantastic. Whatever. I don't care about none of all that. What I do care about is if I help somebody.
Yeah.
Even if it's one freaking person. I did my due diligence and I did it. And I'm satisfied with that. That's how I'm rich.
Well, and that's a good way to, because I'm short on time, but that's a good segue to maybe talk for the next podcast when we're on together. That you know where we go and where we're going to be, where we've come from.
Exactly. And I hope you know what, honestly, I hope you become a regular on this show. Because I
Let's.
love having you on.
I like it. I like the energy, and I don't know. I like a little bit of a storytelling today too, because it's important. And man, I work every day for taking care of the business at hand, and a lot of people ask me, when you look at my life, a lot of people look at it and say, "Man, you're just blessed with a lot of things," but there was a lot of sweat equity that went into that too. And if it wasn't for my dad and my mom and just people in my life, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And I have to kind of inventory that sometimes too. So, you know, today was a great day to get some things off my chest and just, give a perspective. And again, it's a perspective. My opinions are not the only opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's other people with expertise, knowledge on different things, but we all look at things in a way that should be looked at, and that should be positiveness. That we have positive hearts and positive spirit, and we're faithful to our Creator and to all that we have. I mean, and all that we've gone through, and the trials and the tribulations, and all of that said, you know what? At the end of the day, that we're resilient and we stand on top of the mountain, no matter if we're on one leg or two legs.
100%. And we help support each other.
Yeah.
It's like that old thing is being your brother's keeper. Well,
Exactly.
now in this case, be your brother and sister's keeper. But look out for one another. Check up on each other. I mean, that's what it's really about. But at the end of the day, I got my heart. I can go to sleep at night. And you know what? Real quick, shortly, that's why I came up with the compass rose. Yes, I was a sailor, went around the world. That's where, on every map at the bottom, there was always north, south, east, west, which is called the compass rose from the dawn of time when they started sailing the oceans. Okay. But with what I go through with my seizures and different things that I have in my life and my wife going through hers, I took that compass rose and I turned it personal. It was personal to me because now I have jewelry out, which is actually kind of funny and all that, of the compass rose. Right there.
Wow. There it is.
There's a compass and then there's a rose. Okay. The reason why is because for my wife, she's my rose and I'm her compass.
Wow.
It's a different way. So it means something to me. It really, truly does. And that's what I try to incorporate with everybody else because no matter all the negatives, I'm trying to take all that and put it into something powerful and meaningful to help others. That's why I align myself with you, and I look up you, inspire the living daylights out of me. Both you and John, they're doing our amazing jobs. No matter what celebrity or who you're around, you care about people. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be way up here or way down there. Everybody's equal. You matter. You matter to me. Like you gave me the time. I matter to you. That means a lot. So I'm very grateful for that. So I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah. Well, tell Jennifer to contact me, and we'll get together and discuss some stuff that we've got. And I think we have to talk about some gala options and everything. But I'm signing out, and I gotta do some things here around the house and start to eat, man. And thanks for the opportunity today, brother.
Man, I love it. And you know what? I can't wait for us to get together at my charity golf event in June. And I
Yeah.
hope to get your book and autograph book.
All right. Well, I get it.
Because I'll definitely want that and to be able to say hi to John. Because you know what? I live right on the golf course, so he could just sit there and watch everybody golf.
I love it. Well, let's get it.
Let's get it. Let's get her done, right?
All right.
Anyway, thank you, Major Ed. Hopefully you have a blessed weekend, you and your lovely family and all that. Be safe, and God bless you. And I will see you again. I won't say goodbye. I'll see you again.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Major Ed.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Major Ed from Heart of a Lion Foundation. Now, this is why I had him on. And that's why he's an inspiration and means something to me. And Jennifer, to you, thank you so much. And hopefully you help the True North Foundation Incorporated as well. Love you to death. And I love everybody else. And God bless everybody. Everybody have a fantastic day. And let's go Lions. Oh, that hurt. Take it easy, Jennifer. Be good and be safe. Compass Rose True North Podcast, signing off.